People who flew before 9/11, what was it like? Airport security, etc. Security was a quick metal detector and bag screen without all the shoe removal. Taking electronics out of bag, liquid bans, etc. Anybody could come out to the gate to see you off, greet you when you got off the plane. Also, seats had legroom. Meals were served on domestic flights. You typically didn't need a ticket to go through security. Anyone could pass through security to wait at the gate for someone arriving or to see someone off. Security wasn't as strict, but still pretty tight. Never mind before 9/11. Go farther back. You bought a ticket and walked on the plane. No security. The NYDC shuttle didn't take reservations. It left every hour and you just showed up and got a seat. If there were lots of passengers, they rolled out a second plane. Plus, every man wore a suit and tie. It was a formal occasion. Going to the airport was so nice. You still had to go through metal detectors and your bags had to be x-rayed, but you got to keep your shoes on and there was no full-body scanner. People could accompany you to the gate, so if you were flying alone you didn't necessarily have to sit alone while waiting. When someone was arriving you could get there early and park and meet them at the gate. Nothing more fun than sitting at the door to the boarding ramp waiting for grandma and grandpa to walk through for their visit. It was less stressful. Security was nicer and it just all around had a better feeling to it. I remember smoking on airplanes. After that stopped. Armrests still had ashtrays in them, and after years went by, I became mildly alarmed by them. I thought, my God, how old is this plane? Now I know the armrests could have been repurposed on a newer plane with old parts. But it makes me suspicious. I seem to remember people being actually seated on the plane, and the flight attendant asking if anyone needs to buy a ticket. Like, sitting on the tarmac before takeoff. It was also possible to purchase tickets at the gate. Everyone went to the gate. Your whole family could walk you to your gate and hang out with you there until your plane left. And when you came back, they'd be waiting for you at the gate. Everyone had locks on their luggage and used them. It was considered really stupid to not securely lock your luggage. Like going on vacation and leaving your front door open. Before 9/11, you'd be surprised if you noticed your luggage had been searched. Edit to add. You didn't have to have a reason to go to the gate. My friends and I would sometimes go to O'Hare and sit around at the gates. Just people watching. You could hang out at the airport all day, if you wanted. It varied depending on what country you were in. In the US, people seeing you off could walk you right to your gate and you did not need to have a boarding pass to get through security. In other countries, you cannot go past security. Also, up to the early 1990s, you could smoke aboard airplanes. That's why some older aircraft have in-seat ashtrays. I actually was on a theater tour and I needed a ticket to fly from Boston to California. One of the actors backed out, so they just gave me his ticket and didn't even question it. Also, people could meet you at the gate. My mom flew to California on my uncle's ticket, with his name and everything. She just told them he couldn't make it, and they let her take his place. Wild. My favorite memory was that kids would very frequently be invited up to the cockpit for Australian domestic flights. The door would be open and you could stand right behind the pilot's seat, seeing what they see, and looking at all the crazy controls. Just brilliant. In addition to what everyone is saying about family walking you to your gate, I also just really miss the comfortable flights. They were rarely as crowded. I remember overseas flights where I could stretch out across several empty seats and sleep. There was more food and drink service. The entire experience was just more pleasant. Around 1989 my bag was X-rayed and the tech asked me what something was. I replied it was my hot rollers and she sent me on saying, "You don't look like a terrorist." I was in Los Angeles flying to Indiana. You didn't need a ticket to be in the terminal. There were worries about a hit to the businesses inside after losing some foot traffic. But who knows, maybe that's when they started price gouging to make up for it. Kind of one of my armchair conspiracy theories. Before the September 11th attacks, putting a knife down your shoe would have been all it need to smuggle one on board. With the exception of Colombo, they did not mess around then. But the increase in airport security was much more noticeable after the 2006 transatlantic aircraft plot. I flew from Washington State to NYC in 1976. Our parents walked us up to a glass door. We had paper tickets in a book. We showed them to a gate agent and walked out onto the tarmac and up a set of stairs into the plane. There wasn't any security at all as far as I remember. It was awesome. Flying used to actually be enjoyable. Things were much more laid back. Also, that was before common sense and rational thinking killed each other in one of those murder-suicide deals. So people were a lot easier to deal with. I'm not proud of this, but I actually smoked on a plane back when that was still considered normal. With 9/11, not only did flying become a nightmare, a general shift in human behavior gradually became a nightmare, too. The hostility, stupidity, selfishness, entitlement, and rudeness was so much less back then. 9/11 changed everything, and not for the better. I was pretty young, but I still remember flying a few times pre-9/11s. At least as a kid, I didn't notice that much of a difference in security. There were still metal detectors and X-ray machines pre-9/11s. The only major difference was that people not flying couldn't come to the gate. Things like body scanners, liquid restrictions, and having to take your shoes off didn't come until later. Now I have TSA pre-check. So other than the liquid limits, the screening is similar to pre-9/11s. Keep your shoes on. Metal detector instead of body scanner. While not really directly related to 9/11, except that it hurt the airline industry and led to more cost-cutting, the onboard service used to be better. There were no checked bag fees. No basic economy. And even domestic economy flights sometimes got free hot meals. Security was just some lazy dude with a conveyor belt bag scanner and walk-through metal detector. No one cared if you had gasp a drink. No one barking orders like a quasi-prison situation. The whole thing was much less stressful. No major bag restrictions or fees. No laundry list of things to not bring, etc. Much more of the excited, tearful arrivals and departures. Small meals were often served. Sometimes they were even good. And beverage and snack were ubiquitous and free. Seats were more comfortable. People generally wore Sunday best type clothes. Far less of the sweats and jammies you see now. I have vivid childhood memories of standing in or just outside the cockpit of a commercial plane, watching the pilots fly and asking them questions. Like others have said, you didn't need a ticket to go through security, which meant you could meet people right at the arrival gate. You could also drop people off right at the departure gate. They didn't limit liquids. If you had 6 ounces of shaving cream, nobody cared. You didn't need to take off your belt or shoes while going through security. Note that Dulles stopped doing this. A lot more dogs at some airports. There was a more consistent enforcement of rules. Not only designed make you place your shoes, belt, laptop, tablet, etc. on the X-ray belt, but one person at IND will tell the whole line that they need to place shoes in the bin and another person will tell the same line that shoes go directly on the conveyor belt. Back then, the rules were simple, so they remained consistent throughout airports. In the mid-80s, I flew from Toronto to New York on a late-night, early-morning impulse. We had no ID, which was not a problem to buy tickets or board at the time. But we still had to cross the border. At LaGuardia, we chatted up the friendly customs agent and gave her passes to a nightclub, and she let us through. Returning to Canada 2 days later, we slept in and missed our flight. Got rebooked at no charge. And then arriving there was no border or customs check at all in Toronto. That was with City Express out of the Old Island Airport. I hate flying now.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.